Today we are at 36 Black Tattoo and Art Gallery. It is probably one of the creepiest places in all of Orlando. We just found out about it, ran into Johnny Nobody, the owner of this place and the curator of the art gallery, and he invited us down to come and take a look at all the creepiness they have inside. Let's go check it out.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.
As you can tell, 36 Black Art Collective is just about perfect for any dart collector out there. We love it. But what really brought us here is in this room, and Johnny Nobody is going to tell us what we're doing here. All right.
What's up, everyone? I'm Johnny Nobody. It's Tom Eustace over here.
Hi, Johnny Nobody.
Hey, buddy. How are you? In this room, we have 14 human skulls. We also have the largest collection of human remains in Florida right now in one collection. And everything in this room is either murdered or diseased, except for one of them, which is 26,000 years old. So
That's my favorite. I don't think
is it your favorite? I thought the burn victim was your
the
favorite.
burn? I don't know. Well, I thought it was my favorite until you told me the story, and there was no story. It was just a guy that got burned. I thought there was more of an elaborate story.
Well, he died in his house in a chair.
I mean, that's a sad day for him, but I thought he was like the Salem witch trials or some Nazi soldier or something crazy.
Just murdered.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah. So in this Shackles and Handcuffs collection, we actually have Houdini's Shackles and Houdini's Padlock. All of the rest of this is magicians from around the world escape handcuffs. They are all real handcuffs, and they're not really escape handcuffs, but they are all used by magicians. So right over here we have not all of the collection of wet specimens, but we have chameleon, a pig, a lamb, an octopus, and here we have Henry Lee Lucas's brain segment. Does everyone know who Henry Lee Lucas is?
Oh yeah, I actually went to his grave out in down in Texas.
Yeah,
He's buried in a prison cemetery. James Byrd.
There's his brain.
That's awesome.
And then Annie Chapman, her lower mandible and her pelvis, and that's Jack the Ripper's second victim.
That's probably the thing that actually I'm really excited about checking out here. When you mentioned that earlier, I was just like, wow. I want to ask, how does one acquire that? But I don't know if
$20,000.
That's perfect. That's how one acquires that.
For lack of a better explanation, that's it. We also have Houdini's books here too. This was Houdini's book from his magic shop in the city. So
Very cool.
I know that was off topic. I apologize.
No, it's everything inside this room is what brought us down here.
All right, so the middle skull is 26,000 years old, which is a Neanderthal male skull. It's the only skull I don't know exactly reason of death or age or anything like that. When I got it aged or authenticated, they say he was about 24 years old. So that's all I got. The one on the right is from Nazi Germany, and that was actually found in a coffin that had floated after a flood. And then the one on the far left was actually dug up about 40 years after the Civil War. They don't know if he died in the Civil War, but that's him. Far left, we have 83-year-old male that was burnt in a chair in his house. They didn't give the reason for murder, but it was a murder. It wasn't self-inflicted or an accident. 1935 actual horse accident, like fell off a horse and got trampled. So his intestines were actually bludgeoned to death. This one we have born in 1855, died in 1922 by being stabbed in the spine with an ice pick. Actually didn't die from the ice pick, died from the infection caused by not being able to treat it. We have Incan Headhunter. So interesting thing about this one is it's shot at close range.
Oh wow, yeah.
The ridge bones are super unique, and when you flip it over, you realize that he actually had the beginning of eagle syndrome, which is where these spikes grow down into their nervous system and really messes them up pretty bad. And then we have shot in the face, 1930, and then turned into an examination skull. 1884, I don't have a cause for death, I just have the date of death. Up top here, we have another German skull, died in the war. This female here was 1760, she died, and I don't have reason for death, I just have the year she died. The next one we have a progeria child. Do you know what progeria is?
No.
When little kids have old people disease.
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
the bugged out eyes and the underbite. Next one is little person with Down syndrome with double eagle syndrome, which is that spike I showed you. It has actually two spikes, and if they grew any longer, it would have cut off his esophagus. And his parents killed him with a hatchet in the side of his head. And then 760 AD, so right before the fall of the Roman Empire.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy freaking cool. But, so I have to ask, you're so knowledgeable about your collection, especially the skulls, and for anybody who's just looking,
Yeah.
it's just a skull. How do you acquire the knowledge from this?
So, when I started collecting skulls, I collected them because, ooh, it was cool, I had a skull. And then I went farther in, and I feel like by me owning them, I'm still telling their story. They're not just a dead person. Like, you would have forgot 760, no, who knew that person?
Right.
But I'm still telling the story of this person who lived then. Now, I may not be able to tell their whole life story, but I'm keeping that alive.
Right. You're keeping...
Which is why I collect skulls. So it's, and wet specimens for that matter. So I just think it's intriguing that you can do that just by talking about it. You know, they're still around.
Right.
So this is 14 out of 54 of them.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. We talk about the Ouija board?
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier about the Ouija board. What's up with this?
Okay, the Ouija board is pre-Parker Brothers, so before it was a board game. So you're looking at 1920s to 1930s as the actual board, and the planchette is 1890. So I had to put it behind glass because when you hold it, the actual board, it kind of trembles like Jumanji. So I figured I'd put it away and everyone would stop having headaches, and that's where it sits.
It's beautiful. I collect spirit boards, Ouija boards myself, but I have nothing like this. I have a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's one more thing sitting in the dark over here.
Here, I'll bring it in the light. So, tell me when you're ready. You ready?
Yeah?
Alright, so this is the original pressing, first edition copy of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven from 1884. And I got it from a private library in New York City. So, it's pretty awesome.
That's very awesome.
Yeah. Don't often want to touch it, but I have flipped through the pages, so.
So out there in the waiting room, I noticed that there was a couple books on serial killers, and you have some stuff from... Yeah.
1, 2, 8, 12 of them.
I always find this, to me, it's not very taboo to talk about, but whenever people get asked this question, sometimes they're like, what kind of person are you? Do you have a favorite killer or spree killer?
Serial killer.
Serial killer, yeah. Mine is Charles Starkweather. I love
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't hear that name. Okay, I personally, my favorite, by definition, serial killer would be Richard Kuklinski, who is actually not, in his own, confession, not a serial killer. He was just a murderer. But he, well over 200 people. He was a hitman for hire, and he was deemed the Iceman because he would hold people in a cooler for more than a couple years. So when he got rid of the body, you didn't know time of death. So he's pretty awesome to me. But I don't know, the psyche of a serial killer is what intrigues me.
Right.
I don't care about the act. The act to me was nothing. I want to know where their brain was. I want to know where mentally they had to go to do the craziness. Like, that intrigues me. Serial killers don't intrigue me. Mental instability intrigues me. You know what I mean?
Nah, I get you.
Yeah.
I remember, might have been 12, 13 years old whenever I first discovered the Time books, and the first one was serial killers, and I read that thing from front to back, and it completely baffled me, or threw me for a loop.
Michael Ross. Do you know who that is?
No, I do not.
Do you remember him from New England? So Tom is from New England as well.
From Vermont.
Connecticut.
Close.
So in Connecticut, there's a serial killer, deemed by definition serial killer, which is how many deaths they've done, I guess, right?
Right.
Michael Ross was a door-to-door Eureka vacuum cleaner salesman. When they wouldn't buy his vacuum, he would kill them. And I think he got away with 5.
Wrong choice.
Yeah, but kind of where we both kind of grew up. I grew up in New York City. My grandmother lived in Connecticut. Similar, about 40 miles away from each other. And that's where kind of Michael Ross did his thing. So I remember when I was a kid, and this is 83, 84, that Michael Ross was the guy, we have a serial killer in our midst.
Right.
And that's when I became super intrigued. But I saw my first beheading when I was 8. And I was on the streets of New York City. And I was not weirded out by the act. I was fascinated by the color, which, again...
Color of the blood.
The color of the blood, the color of the bone. The bone is actually so white. And I had grown up watching pirate shows or whatever, and everything's decayed and patinaed brown or whatever else. But when you actually see it right out of the skin, it's the whitest white. It's almost blinding. And I remember being 8 years old, sitting on the street, 7th Avenue, in Lower East Side, going, wow, that's pretty bright. And that blood would almost turn brown and be kind of iridescent in the sun. And it was just, that's what fascinated me. And for the longest time, I was always pondering, I know I should be messed up by what I just saw. And I didn't really understand why I was fascinated by the color. But that's my first bout of seeing death. And it really has never bothered me. And I don't know if that's a personal thing, or I don't know. I mean, I don't want to see people die, but we all do it.
I was always curious as to why you hear about all these serial killers from way back when was the last one? Jeffrey Dahmer, maybe, that was in the late 80s, early 90s?
Mhm.
And then, but since then, where are they all? Because apparently, obviously things still happen, but
It's
you would
weird
think with
because
social media now, it would be more all over the place. And
they're there, but
Yeah.
for some, I don't want this to sound like I'm. They're there, but I don't want this to sound like I'm trying to glorify it. But it's almost like they're not as interesting enough.
They're not a celebrity.
Right.
Mm,
It wasn't. So many bad things have happened to so many people that what can you top at this point?
Exactly.
So is it deemed uninteresting, or are we just deemed weirdos because it's not? But I mean, play a video game, and I'm not saying video games are the cause for anything, but you could literally see anything in a video game. We're just so desensitized by it. Like, oh, another person died.
And we're over it so fast too. We might hear about it, and they might say, "Oh, this person killed 50 people," and then,
Right.
and then the next thing is whatever the next thing is the next day, and everyone forgets about that.
Yeah, you
So-
don't have the Natalies that are missed for 4 or 5 years, and like oh my God, this person is still missing. Oh my God, we found their body.
Mm.
I mean, Casey Anthony was, if we're going to hit close to home, was the last like full manhunt thing.
Mhm.
But that wasn't a serial killer. That was just an asshole that killed their kid, or supposedly.
Right. We moved down here, and we just kind of put 2 and 2 together that the Casey Anthony thing happened around here.
Right here, yeah.
So we've got a couple of different videos that we're planning that are true crime,
Yeah.
digging really deep, trying to find stuff. And our first one in Florida was Eileen Wuornos in Port Orange.
Yeah.
But it's almost
The monster,
like
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost like that 15 minutes of fame has become the norm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
No, I agree. I completely agree with that.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know when human life became such a meh. I mean, even people who we looked up to in the 80s, they die and they only have a 2-day memorial tops.
Right.
Oh, damn, Prince died. 2 days later, who cares? Like,
It's on the
oh my
front
God,
page
did you
of
see that
stuff
guy
and it's
jump off
gone.
that building? Like, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it used to be a big thing, and people just don't care anymore. People are on to the next thing so fast, and it's pretty sad to see.
So to tie that together, I collect skulls and I can tell their life story later on in life.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.
$0.25 for a black gumball. Didn't you even get to show it to me? Is that making let's see it. Stick it out. There you go.